Hey everybody, Patty Ann here. Hang on just one second. Somebody in our Facebook group said, hey Patty Ann, how do you make those gatefold cards? I don't want to buy one, I want to make my own. So I'm going to show her how she can do this using images from Cricut Access. If she doesn't have access, and by the way, her name is Cindy. Hey Cindy. And if she doesn't have access, of course she can find images that she can use out on the internet. But the first thing I wanted to show you was I made a really cute card, an envelope for the card. Isn't that cute? I made that using the Cuttlebug. And if you really like doing cardstock things, I highly recommend you take advantage of the sale price that they have on the Cuttlebug right now. It's really a good price, and you can get the folders that you use, the embossing folders, from places like Michael's, Joann's, Tuesday Morning, everywhere. The same ones will fit, so not to worry, the Cricut's not going to carry them anymore. So anyway, I'll have a link down below to Cricut, and you can go there and search for the Cuttlebug if you're interested. It's a good price, because I also did this envelope with the Cuttlebug. Isn't that cute? I just think that's adorable. So inside of this envelope is the card that I'm going to show you, and this is the one similar to the one that Cindy was wanting to make. So I'm just going to show how to do this, how to make the gatefold. And of course, you can make this card out of one piece of cardstock, this, and then of course you'd need a second piece to go inside. And on this piece is what you can print and cut your sentiment on, or you can have your machine use the marker there and it can write it. And also, if I had some pretty ribbon that matched, and I tried to find some, I could make a really pretty bow on this, but none of my blues that I have match very well, so I thought, nah, I'm not going to do that. But you get the idea. I could tie this shut with a really pretty bow and so on. So let's follow me to Cricut Design Space and we'll get started, and I'll show you how to create this really pretty gatefold card. Okay. So here's the one that I've already done, and you can see that I have this image here that's actually the card that I had in blue, in my actual card, and this was the white piece that went inside, right? All right, so let me show you how I made this. Let me take this one and group all of this stuff together, and then I'm going to come over here and just hide it with the eyeball. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the shape tool. I'm going to grab a shape, and I always make my cards a certain size so that they'll fit into my envelopes that I buy from Staples. I don't like to have to make envelopes. I like to buy them, and I can embellish them however I'd like. So I'm going to change this box by coming up here to where the lock is, open the lock, and I'm going to change this to be 4.25 inches wide by 5.5 inches tall. And that's the size I always make the half size of my card. If this were a real card, of course, there would be another piece over here that was exactly the same size, and this is where the card would fold. So this is just like the front of the card. Okay, so I'm going to change it to a color that we can see a little bit better. Maybe a gray. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it, highlight it, and duplicate it. And I'm just going to move that one out of the way for now. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to where it says Images. And as you can see up here, I've already have it typed in lace. So what I did was I just scrolled through here until I found a lace that I liked. And there are many that you can choose, I'm sure. But the one I decided to go with was this one right here. Okay, and it's a print then cut. This one's just a cut file. That's unusual. I used this one before. I think I'll try this one now. And you know it's a print then cut because look, it has the printer image. This one does not. I'm going to click on this one to highlight it and say Insert. Okay, once that's inserted, I notice that I'm able to ungroup it, so I'm going to do that. And let's see what I can get rid of. I'll get rid of this piece, exit out, And that's all one solid piece. So I'm going to keep it just like that. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I want to take a piece of this lace and I'm going to turn it sideways and put it right over here. Let me think now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to shapes, going to get a square again, and I think I'll change its color to something that's light so I can see it. And then I'm going to unlock its lock and stretch it out and bring it over here so that it goes right underneath, right above these little vertical lines right here. I'm going to get the horizontal line there, just like that. You see that? Just like that. So then what I'm going to do is with this yellow box highlighted, I'm going to hold down my shift key and grab the lace. And notice what's available down here, the slice tool. So I'm going to slice this out. So that means I can get rid of this, and this, and this, and whoa, what the heck? Well, those are still hooked together. I'm not sure why. I'm going to get another shape and get the box and bring it over here and unlock it and just drag it over here. And now I can select this, hold down my shift key and select that, and I can slice again. So now I can get rid of this piece and this piece and this piece. So all I'm left with is this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate that. I'm going to hold down my shift key so it'll rotate like this. You see in increments. There we go. Perfect. And I'm going to bring it over here. And I'm going to start stretching it down because I want it to go to the end. Now we know how tall this has to be because we know how tall this card is. Remember, it's 5.5. So we also want the lace to be 5.5. 5.5. Okay, and hit enter. All right. Now the thing is, if I was to duplicate this lace and put it on this side, they wouldn't quite come together. And if you like them to come together and overlap in the center, like mine has done, and if you, let's see, look down here, I can show you again. Here's how mine is. It overlaps just a little tiny bit in the center. Now, if you don't want yours to overlap in the center, you can do it like that as well. But mine overlap in the center a little bit, and I never glued this piece in yet. But, okay. So let's go back to Cricut Design Space. If I want them to overlap a little bit in the center, what I'm going to do then is, so I know where the center mark is, I'm going to come to the Shape tool, and I'm going to go to the score line. And once I have the score line selected, I'm going to drag it longer. And then I'm going to highlight the score line, which it was already selected. I'm going to reselect it, hold down my shift key, grab the card, and then I'm going to come up here to where it says Align and Align Center. So that puts my score line exactly in the center. Now, if I want this lace to meet in the center with a tiny overlap, I'd bring it over to there, right? So I'll have to unlock the lock, and then with this selected, I gotta unlock that lock. And then I could stretch this over like this, just like that. Okay, so that's perfect. And let's see, is this still the right size? This got resized a little bit probably when I was messing around. So I'm gonna make it back to 5.5 and hit enter. Oops. Okay, there we go. And then I don't need to align it yet. I'll do that in a moment. So the next thing I'm going to do then is I'm just going to highlight that lace and come up here and duplicate it. And if I want to, what I can do now, just to see how it's going to look, is I can come up here to flip and flip horizontal. And that's going to let me see kind of what it's going to look like as my card. And I think that looks really nice. They're just barely touching. I like it a lot. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, this is kind of weird though. I'm going to bring this guy over here and bring this guy over here. And the reason being is I want to weld them to the cards. Let's see, before I do though, I'm going to grab this scoring tool and I'm going to duplicate it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drag that score line right over here, right next to where that is. And I'm going to grab this one and bring it over here, right next to where that is. And if there's a little tiny space, that's okay. And what I could do is zoom in further so I could make sure that I'm getting them really well positioned. So this one looks like it's a little further away. Move it in a little. Can actually move it in so it just touches the purpley part. If you look down here, you can kind of see what I forgot to do. This isn't aligned to the bottom. So I'm going to move this one over and I'm going to grab this one on the left, hold down my shift key, grab the center card, hold down my shift key still, and grab the thing on the right. And then I'm going to come up here to align and align bottom. And did you see that move to exactly where it should be? Okay, so now I'm just going to grab everything, highlight everything, and weld it. So everything's going to change to the same color, but look, there's an issue there. So those weren't actually touching. So these are good things for me to leave in here for you to see in case this happens to you. So let me go to Control Z again to undo. So now we're back to the unwelded part. Let me move this. Let me move this. I'm going to move this over here so it's actually touching. And then I have to take this and this and this again just to make sure they didn't move and come up here to align bottom again. Okay, so now I am going to weld them all again. And there we have it. You can see that's turned into one piece all by itself, right? But you might be wondering, where did the score lines go? Well, let's see if we can find those. If I right click on this and say send to the back, there's a score line, and there's another score line. So I'm going to have to place them back where they belong. So let's scroll out a little bit with using this. And I'm going to put my score lines again right over like this. Trying to make them exactly the same on both sides. So that looks pretty good, just like that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do with those score lines selected, hold down my shift key and select the card, and I'm going to say attach. Okay, so this is my card, right? Okay, so it's going to fold right here. So here's the thing. I'm going to change its color. I'm going to change its color to blue because that's what color I have it. All right, and so what I'm going to do now is I need to get another box because this part in here is not exactly the size I need it to be. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to go to Shapes and get the square. And do you remember what size I said I make my cards all the time? Okay, I make them, and I unlock the lock, I make them 4.25 wide by, that's right, 5.5 tall. 4.25, 5.5. Okay, now if you look at this, that's going to fit pretty well. I'm going to scroll out. And sometimes you have to make it a little larger and sometimes a little smaller. But I use this as my judgment card. This tells me how big I need the card to be in the center. I can't have it any larger than that. And I really don't want it any smaller. So what I can do now if I want to is just to unlock this lock of the blue card. And did it get unlocked? I think that's it. There we go. And I can just move this in just a tiny bit so that that's just going to fit within my envelope, and that is going to be perfect. If I wanted to write a sentiment in here now, and I wanted it to be written with the pen in my machine, all I have to do is this. I would change the color to white so that it's going to be cut out of white cardstock, okay? Then the next thing I would do is I would come to the text tool, and I'll just type in the word congratulations, just congratulations, just because I can. And then I would just, oh, but here's the thing. I wanted to write with or draw with the pen, right? So what I need to do is come up here and see if there's a writing style for the font that is chosen. And there is not. So I need to click in the font area, and then I can come over here to where it says filter, and I'm going to filter only writing fonts, as all I want to see are writing fonts. So that means all of these fonts now that I can see can be written with the pen. So I'm just going to choose one. Let's see what this one looks like. It's called Friday. No idea. Okay, Friday's interesting looking. It really comes crazily apart, but we know how to fix that now. We just come up here to letter spacing and just start clicking the down arrow to get those closer together. Now, since these aren't going to be cut out of vinyl, it doesn't matter really if they touch, but if you want them to look like writing, then you might like to move them closer together like what I'm doing here. Okay, this is kind of an odd font, and I have a lot of moving to do for this one. So I think I'm going to change my mind and try a different font. I wonder, what is this? Gardenia? All right. Now this one I would need to move apart a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty good right there, except for that. I would now ungroup to letters, advanced and ungroup to letters, because I want to take, whoopsie, let's get this out of the way. Come here, you guys. I want to take these letters and kind of manipulate where they are. So I would probably scroll in a lot more so I can see, and the A and the T, those look pretty good. You know, and you can fuss with this more. I'm not going to fuss too long because this is just a tutorial to show you how to do this. So I'm just going to quickly kind of put these together. And you can take as much time as you'd like to get these perfectly aligned. So that part's done. Now I'll start coming from this side and go over. These look good together, so I'm going to move them together. The L and the, well, they sort of do, but look, that L has to go way down there. Well, anyways, I would just keep fiddling around with this to get it perfectly. And let's pretend, oops, guess I can't get those. All right, so there's congratulations, and then I would just highlight all of that, and I'd need to scroll out a little bit to get it all. So then highlight all of it, and it's kind of kooky the way it's written up, but that's okay. And I'm going to group it, and then I'm going to make it smaller so that it'll fit here in this card, in the white part of the card. And you may or may not like that. I'm not sure. So that's that, and let's scroll back out again to see where the rest of my card is. So how this is going to go then is I would take this, and I will not flatten it. If I flatten it, it'll turn into a print then cut. I don't want it to be a print then cut. I want it to just write with the marker in my Cricut or in my Silhouette. So I'm going to grab all of this, and I'm going to come over here to attach. And then I can move this over here, and you can get an idea of what it's going to look like. These two pieces are going to fold in. this is going to be written with a pen on the card behind. So again, here is what my card looks like. If you look down here, I did not write anything on it, but the writing that would have been what they call drawn in Cricut with the marker would have been right here, and it would have said congratulations, and then this would close just like this. So that's how easy it is to make one of these. You can find any lace that you like. You might want to find one of those mandala things to put on here. You know, there's lots of options that you can try. I just wanted to show one way to do it. So thanks for joining me. If you like my videos, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to check my links down below. If you are interested in getting a Cricut, what's it called, a Cuttlebug, you know, I have a link for that down below, and lots of other links as well. Also, make sure you join us at our Facebook groups. They're listed down below. And the Patreon group. If you only have $1 a month you want to spend, you can get a class that's half an hour long that will give you basic instruction on using your Cricut design space. It's going to be a video. First, it'll be a challenge that you try on your own. Then you'll get the video that shows how to do it, and then you'll get a PDF that you can download and print out and have forever and ever. So, again, thank you for joining me. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.